Hi friends, in our time together today, I'll introduce another helpful hint for memorizing tunes. Um, I recently started this mini series of memorizing tunes, and I'll put a card up at the top so that you could access that first video if you've not seen it yet. You'll likely find some of these ideas I'm sharing work better than others, and that's fine. Find what works for you and follow that. And to be honest, if you spend time working on learning tunes, and if you spend enough time working on learning tunes, you'll realize you ended up memorizing many of them along the way anyway. But I have a different recommendation to share for us today, a helpful hint in memorizing tunes. And you'll recognize this recommendation because I use it when I talk about developing some other skills as well. So it's a good, helpful way to do a number of things as you're learning a tune. As usual, first, listen to the tune, get a feel for it, understand the flow of the tune, and then when you feel like you're getting into it, then listen to the tune with your whistle in hand and start playing along. So what you'll do then is, however you're playing a tune, whether you're reading music, whether you're playing along with someone, this is all going to be fine. It's all the same. Break the tune into bite-sized pieces, phrases, sensible phrases. If you were memorizing a paragraph, for example, you would break it into logical groups of words, and you do the same there. So take a tune and break it into phrases. And these phrases aren't always complete measures. If you're reading music, then don't limit yourself to measures. For example, the beginning of Wild Mountain Thyme starts off, and here's like a phrase. And that's like halfway into a measure. And so that it doesn't necessarily mean that a phrase stops at the end of the measure. So break a tune into sensible phrases and pay attention to this as you're even listening to it. Then, and I'm going to use some of the Road to Lindisfarne for this. So take a phrase and then play that phrase. So, but try and play the phrase in rhythm. Here's like what I think of as the first phrase of the Road to Lindisfarne. It's just a measure. And it doesn't always work that way. It might be a longer section, but is whatever is a complete musical thought, I'll call it. So then play that through. So. And then get that in your brain, and then work on the next phrase. Okay, and then you'll learn each of those phrases, but I actually recommend you just do two phrases, and you do phrases that are next to each other, because learning a phrase is just a piece. You need those pieces connected. So what you'll do is you've got to find a way to mentally connect those and connect them in your fingers. So you're then going to play them together. And then play it again. So what you're doing is you're taking a phrase, you're learning a phrase. You're taking the very next phrase and you're learning the very next phrase. And then you're connecting those so that when the one phrase ends, you're thinking immediately of how it transitions to the next, because you want your brain and your ear trained so that you hear that. You don't want to have to think, oh, that phrase ended, I wonder what phrase goes next. You want, as you're learning the tune, you want these two phrases connected. And that's why you learn the first one, you learn the second one, and then you connect them. I would then learn the third phrase, which interestingly with the Road to Lindisfarne is just like the first. So I know that. So quickly, I'm going to then stitch those first three together. And all the while I'm doing that, I'm thinking flow from phrase to phrase. I'm connecting those phrases in my memory by thinking about how they go together. And after I play that, I will then learn that next phrase and connect them so that I naturally want to go. And then I'll pray. That's like a longer section. And so I'll then play that whole piece, making sure I'm not dependent on whatever I'm using to learn the tune. It might be printed music. It might be play along with Scott. It might be watching somebody else play it. For a moment, listen to no one. And then work on that entire, right here, that A part of Road to Lindisfarne. I broke into 4 phrases. I learned the first phrase. I learned the second phrase. I connected them. I played them together. I learned the third phrase. I connected the second and the third phrase, played them together, and then I started over at the beginning and went down until I should be able to turn away and go. And that's going to take you some time. Learn a phrase, connect the phrases. If one phrase doesn't flow into the next, then they're just scattered pieces. So make sure you spend as much time playing the phrases together, one flowing into the other. So if you learn this one phrase, learn this other phrase, and then spend as much time playing them so that they flow into each other, you'll find you're memorizing the tune. Now, do that for the whole tune. But then marry this recommendation with the first recommendation. And that, remember, was spend time learning a tune today, spend time learning that tune tomorrow until you learn it fairly well. Take a day off, 2 days off, go back and do it again. That repetition is good. So I will break the Road to Lindisfarne into phrases. I'll learn each phrase. I'll stitch them together so that I'm learning the transitions from one to another. And I'll do that until I'm comfortable. Now, if I walk away for an hour, I probably won't. I will have to repeat that process tomorrow. And then when I'm comfortable tomorrow, I'll take a day off. And then I'll go back to it a day after that. And it's telling my brain this is something to remember. So you can't just remember everything in one great big chunk. You're not going to eat your Thanksgiving dinner in one bite. So learn a phrase, learn a phrase. Now this feels easier with shorter tunes. But it's the same process when you're looking at a longer tune. Actually, this might be one of the best ways to learn a longer tune. Take a longer tune, and if it has like an A part and a B part, consider the A part a whole big section. Break that big section into smaller sections. And then learn and memorize the sections next to each other. Learn the transition between them so that when you play, you automatically think. You want your brain to flow, and you do that by learning a piece, connecting the dots of the two pieces in the same way, and then connect to that other ideas. Work on that, do that for a few days, take a day off, do it again. And so, like I said, you'll do that same process for longer tunes as well. One other side note, there are some people, you'll notice I didn't use much ornamentation there. There are some people who say that you should memorize a tune with ornamentation. I personally recommend that you learn a tune with minimal ornamentation, if at all, because I want me to be free to express and ornament a tune as I'm feeling it today. I might ornament it differently tomorrow than I do today. And if I memorize it with ornamentation, then that's the way I play it always. And I don't want to always play these tunes the same. I want to play them differently. That's why I say learn the core of the tune, and then after that, experiment with the ornamentation and grow into that. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. Take a tune, break it into what you would call a phrase. When you're thinking about it, there's a phrase to it. That might be a long section of the tune, or it might be a short section of the tune. Learn the phrase. Learn the next phrase. Then spend time learning how those phrases flow into each other. Then learn the third phrase. And then maybe either go learn that transition from the second to the third phrase, and then do it all together. And after a while, you'll find that you're learning small pieces and you're stitching the tune together, and it's all gonna work. So let me know how that's going for you. Start sharing some comments on each of these videos as to what you do to help memorize tunes. Until next time, my friends, this is Scott Shade. Happy whistling.